Hello and welcome to my TV show recaps. I will be recapping TV shows on streaming services such as HBO, Netflix, Hulu, and talking about hot topics. If you're interested, please subscribe. So we're opening up with a second to the last episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And we're starting off with Lisa Barlow exposing all of Meredith's alleged tea. Now, people say this was a hot mic moment, but knowing Lisa Barlow, I don't think it was a hot mic moment. I think she meant to expose Meredith. She's been waiting for this for a long time. Knowing Lisa, she'll do anything for a plot line, including throwing her friend of 10 years under the bus. So right after Lisa's hot mic moment, we cut to Meredith in the confessional talking about how she really doesn't understand why Whitney is coming after her regarding her father's memorial. This is understandable because I feel like a parent's memorial should never be questioned. This woman just buried her dad, and I feel like Whitney was looking for a moment and a plot line. That's why she was on Meredith's neck so hard. Meredith also pointed out in this confessional that, she never called the FBI on Jen, which I kind of believe because the FBI had allegedly opened this case up 10 years ago, and Meredith did not know Jen at that time. And Meredith also stated that she just didn't want to be on the Sprinter, which again kind of makes sense. Who wants to be on a long 10-hour ride with women they don't really like? So Whitney harping on Meredith calling the FBI on Jen just doesn't make sense, and Whitney is just obviously fishing for a story at this point. Move on to the next scene where Jenny goes up to check on Lisa. Here Lisa kind of attacks Jenny, talking about, hey, you didn't have my back at the dinner table, which I kind of agree with Lisa. Jenny did not have Lisa's back in regards to Meredith. Now in regards to Mary, Jenny was quick to jump in during the Taco Bell incident, which, to be honest, Mary wasn't lying. All we see is Lisa eating Taco Bell and drinking a big gulp from 7-Eleven. Oh my god, guys. So Lisa then continues to give this epic Oscar-worthy performance, screaming, running, ranting, raving across the room, demanding that Meredith gives her an apology. I'm like, sweetheart, Meredith is not going to give you an apology after that hot mic moment. It's not going to happen. The thing about Lisa Barlow is that she's a bone carrier. She brings up everyone's story to everyone else except the person she's talking about. Then when the ladies confront that person and say, oh, Lisa was the source, she blows up. She tries to deny it. She runs around. She starts crying with no tears, which gets me all the time. So that's why I just feel like every move she's been making on this show since season 1 has kind of been really calculated, and we have to keep an eye out for her during the further. And of course, the rest of the ladies rush upstairs as Lisa's screaming, shouting. Jen Shah is there. Lisa is at this point now threatening to leave. I'm like, girl, you're not going anywhere. You're not leaving. You're staying. Then Lisa drops the gem line. You know what? I'm richer than all of you, and I don't need to be here. I was like, really, Lisa? You're richer than everyone on the cast? Okay. I'm going to need some proof of that. And then Whitney, the one with no storyline, continues to try to tell Lisa, hey, I had your back, which I don't think Whitney had Lisa's back. The only reason why Whitney and Heather are friends with Lisa is to get stories from Lisa. Those two do not care about Lisa at all. I wish Lisa would see this and realize that. And then we move on to Lisa trying to squeeze a tear from her eyes, which is just so funny to me because she's always making this face, but she never. This is what I don't get from these women. Why does someone else have to have your back? If you say something, as Lisa Rinna would say, just own it. Own that you said it. Stop looking for a co-signer. Stop looking for a backup singer. Just own that you said something. This is not high school. You don't need to tag team in order to, communicate with the other ladies. And then Jen Shah starts talking about why is it that Meredith and Mary are friends. And I'm like, I don't know why these women are bothered by Meredith's and Mary's friendship. Because if you really look at it, Meredith and Mary don't even tag team on people the way Heather and Whitney tag team against people. When Heather and Whitney have an argument with one person, they both attack that one person. So I don't know why Meredith and Mary's relationship is such a huge concern for the women. And then the background singer Heather chimes in and says to Lisa, oh, like, you don't know how much, I guess, info Jen has on Meredith. And I'm like, you see, this is the mess I'm talking about, where Heather kind of like throws a stone and she totally hides her hand. I think people need to keep an eye on Heather. She's not as nice as she portrays herself to be. Whitney then goes to the kitchen to talk to Meredith. Whitney then proceeds to tell Meredith that she didn't mean any disrespect, but that there was some speculation regarding Meredith's dad's memorial. And to me, I was just like, Whitney, this is another lie from Whitney, because Whitney, Lisa, and Heather were the only three people on the cast speculating about this woman's dad's funeral. I think it was just so inappropriate for them to bring Meredith's father's memorial into the show as a plot line for themselves. At the point where Meredith's dad's memorial wasn't even shown on television, I just feel like, again, Whitney and Heather are trying to make a moment for themselves, and it's just not looking good. It's not a good look. It makes me question their character as individuals. And also, even if Meredith lied about the dates, it really doesn't matter to me, because bearing a parent must be very hard. And if she wants to take a day off and not ride on the Sprinter, it's no one's business. Whitney and Heather should just respect her decision and go along with it. Meredith then asked Whitney, what about if I don't believe that you haven't talked to your father? Which to me was fair, because if you're going to bring up someone's dead dad, then I feel like the gloves are off. Whitney had no consideration at that moment for Meredith's feelings, so Meredith shouldn't have any consideration for Whitney's feelings either. Sometimes the only way to get your point across is to go sort of low. Meredith did that, and I think Whitney kind of got the message. And then, of course, Whitney brings up the line, oh, at least Meredith knows where her dad is. It's like, are you even listening to yourself? Her dad is dead. You need to Meredith calm down. Then decides to, I guess, call a meeting in Lisa's room to kind of get to the bottom of who is the driving force behind this rumor, who is speculating. Of course, none of them own up to it. Whitney is fumbling and mumbling. Lisa is mumbling and fumbling. Jen isn't talking. Jenny is just there. Mary isn't there. And of course, Heather is just like sitting at the back, not saying anything. They're all just pointing fingers at each other, and no one is owning up to actually bringing this rumor to light. Which at this point, I'm tired. I don't care. The whole memorial storyline is disgusting, and I'm just ready to move on. So it's the next morning, and then we move on to Heather and Lisa talking on the bed. So the matter of Mary comes up, and Heather decides to say that Mary is aggressively cruel. Now, Mary can be somewhat awkward and annoying around people, but the term aggressively cruel is extremely harsh for someone like Mary, because really Mary doesn't even really interact with these women enough for them to have such hard opinions about Mary. She doesn't really talk to the women. She doesn't interact with the cast. So why is she now labeled as aggressively cruel? Heather Gray needs to explain herself. Next, we have Jen meeting up with her attorney, and here you can see that he's giving her some legal counsel, also talking about the case with Stu. And here he's trying to explain to Jen that although Stu and Jen's team are not working together, they're not at this moment working against each other. Which, spoiler alert, Stu actually is cooperating with the FBI against Jen. So that's bad news for Jen. Up next, we have Lisa Barlow making 4 pieces of asparagus and 3 shrimps for her kids. Again, she's just doing this because Mary telling her that she goes to Taco Bell for lunch for her children, and her kids and her look malnourished probably hurt her. So This really, it doesn't really interest me, but hey, she's trying at least. At least she's trying. So I give her an A plus. So next we cut to the scene of Mary at her church. Her church members are singing, dancing, and this was my face throughout. Like something's kind of off. I'm not sure. And then Jen walks in looking like Mary J. Blige. I mean, the fur, the sunnies, the thigh-high boots. Everything's just too much, but I'm also loving it. And Mary's church members begin to testify as to how amazing of a person she is. She's fashionable. She's the reason they, live, whatever. And I'm like, girls, this is too much. This is beginning to look suspicious. But I guess this is what Mary wants us to see from her and her congregation and her as a pastor in her element. But this is not looking too good. So we cut over to Tweedledee and Tweedledum going over to Meredith's house for some electromagnetic exercise thing. So Heather begins to talk about how she thinks that Meredith should apologize to Whitney, and Whitney kind of agrees. Whitney goes there with the intention of demanding an apology and also with the intention of kind of expecting an apology from Meredith. Luckily, Meredith apologizes to Whitney for the hurtful things that she said about Whitney's dad, which was kind of big on Meredith's part because she kind of acknowledges that what she said about Whitney's dad was kind of hurtful to Whitney, and that's why I like Meredith, because she takes that's where the episode ends. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please drop a comment, like this video, and subscribe. It'll help the channel. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up, share, comment below, and subscribe to the channel.